Welcome back to the King's Report. I am your host, Sean Moon. Second King Chandigarh. The Queen just pointed out that Psalm 77 is actually not the Psalm of David, it's the Psalm of Asaph. But of course, it still remains to be true. It is a psalm about the consoling memory of God's redemptive works. And of course, through the pain, seeing God's promise. Wow, it's not pain or pleasure. It's not pain or pleasure. It's pain or promise. The promise enjoys, has pain in it. It also has pleasure, but also involves pain. The promise transcends the pain. And I was just, the Spirit of God, and during the break, just reflecting on the whole garden. It's interesting because the garden comes to life when it rains, right? Isn't it interesting that these rock gardens come to life when it rains, and God is the rock of our salvation. And it's almost like the beauty of God being the rock comes to life. It manifests. It manifests more clearly when it's raining, when it's being beaten by the storm. You know what I mean? Just like the garden. God's presence becomes ever more potent and manifest and shimmering when it rains, when it's hard, when you want to give up, when it feels like you're trapped, when it feels like you're isolated, when it feels like there's no way to go or no end in sight, when it's raining without end. That's when the rocks show their true beauty. That's when the rock of salvation is Psalm 71. Look at that. God of the rock of salvation. God, the rock of salvation. Yeshua HaMashiach. The Lord of Second Advent. They come into beauty more vividly when it rains in your life. Doesn't mean that their strength is still not, that the rock is still as strong as it was when it's not raining. It's just that you can't notice it as much. You see what I mean? But there's something very interesting that happens with the relationship with the garden. The beautiful days, you see all these beautiful shadows on it, that's gorgeous, and the light and how the light plays on it. But then at other days, you almost crave the rain. You really want to see the rain. And in our spiritual life too, we have to feel that too. We have to sometimes, we can't only be happy and notice God when things are good and sunny days. Sometimes we have to ask God, strike me. Strike me. So I can discover through that difficulty a new thing, a new lesson, a new discovery about you. It's like, if you do the real combat arts, you have to, if, for example, we're striking training, we have to strike each other, right? When I train these boys to do striking, they have headgear on, they have boxing gloves on, they have kicking pads on, right? And of course, I will strike them and I'll hit them, not hard. But they will also have to try to strike me and realize how hard it is to strike somebody who's trained. You boys experienced that, right? It's not that easy to hit somebody who knows what he's doing. But being struck awakens within you not only a desire to avoid the strike, but you learn something. You learn something through being struck. You not only become stronger, you learn something about yourself. Not only you learn about yourself that you can take a punch, not only you not only learn about yourself that you don't have to fear the strike so heavily, although you have to respect it, you can't fear it. One of the hardest things for beginner strikers is doing what's called slipping. And slipping is like when there's a 1-2, you slip towards the punch. Boom, boom, you slip towards the punch as you're going. And of course, if you're higher level, you can slip and counter punch at the same time. Okay, but it's very hard because you're actually slipping towards the punch. Good Jishimana, right? You guys felt that, right? When you guys trained that. And yeah? These guys felt it too. It's very hard because your natural reaction is to run away from the strike. But if you do that against a skilled opponent, they'll time that and they'll throw a big overhand left or right on your head. And the slipping prepares you for a proper bob and weave. Pow, pow, pow. See? It prepares you for a whole set of combo on the defensive offense that's using counter-striking. The strikes help you learn many things about yourself, your fortitude, your chin, how strong you could take a punch, all these kind of things. It gives you confidence. And one who trains in these kind of arts, you must desire the strike. You must desire to be reminded of what it feels like to get punched in the head, in the face. You must desire that to remember, because if you don't, your memory will fade and you'll fall into delusion. It's the same thing with our relationship with God. Sometimes we can have just always sunny days, we're yearning for sunny days, but sometimes in our spiritual journey, we have to yearn to be struck. Not, I'm saying sadomasochistically, but like in a true desire that wants us to, desires to feel reality again. That God will humble us so that we can experience His true authority over our lives. And that in that we can learn about ourselves and learn about Him more. You see what I mean? I'm not saying you want that every damn day. But we must not only seek the pleasurable times. That's with any relationship. We must also learn through the pain. And that's with real, deep, intimate marriages too. There are moments of pain. Of course, there should be the majority in which you can build pleasure and joy. But there are certain moments of pain which are necessary for you to go to the next level. And you can't be scared of the pain. You can't be scared of being struck by the Holy Spirit and convicted by God. You can't be scared of that. You can't get to the next level unless you do. Unless God can kick you in the head once in a while and punch you in the nose. And you got to get to the next level, because that's the next epic journey. That's the next epic adventure. That's the next epic level and new world that is waiting to be unlocked. It's not only beautiful when it's sunny, but if you have calm in the storm, and even though it's stormy, with your husband, with your wife, with your kids, if you can have calm in the storm, you will be able to see the hand of God in it. Now, I'm not saying that if you're being threatened for your life and you're being chronically abused physically, that, you should just, reflect back on it and just enjoy it. No. When you do combat training, you get punched in the face, but you got to keep your guard up. You got to protect yourself. You don't sit there as a punching bag to let people beat on you and do a passivity. You can still move. You can still bob and weave. You can still move around. You can still, train. But you don't fear the striking. You can sit in the pocket sometimes without getting scared. You can take a hit and be grateful for that hit, but that doesn't mean you're a punching bag. It means you're grateful for that and you learn from that. You're present from that. You're stimulated by that to become what? Better at protecting yourself. Don't take it in this, passivity Buddhist way. Because that always, of course, that could lead in some cases to tremendous abuse. Tremendous abuse. So one must be able to protect themselves while at the same time not being fear of being struck. That makes sense? It's a very interesting dynamic, isn't it? Very, very interesting dynamic. But the Spirit of God calls me to reflect on those things this morning.